I had one of those dreams when I was 23. When I suddenly woke up, I was thinking, what if we could download the whole web and just keep the links? And I grabbed a pen and started writing.
That's Larry Page giving a commencement speech at the University of Michigan. So, as the legend goes, when Larry was 22 years old, he had this weird dream of downloading the entire web from the internet and then rank them in a unique and efficient way. So, he woke up from the dream, wrote it on a piece of paper. As time passed, it turned into a company. A few years later, he offered to sell that company for $1 million. So, what happened? Fascinated by the idea of organizing the web, Larry Page went to his professor and told him about his weird dream about how he was going to download the entire web in a few weeks. But then the entire process took over 2 years. Now, during this time, Larry would become friends with his future partner, Sergey Brin. Larry was more of a visionary for Google, while Sergey was the extrovert and the business guy, which the company needed. Eventually, they quit their PhD at Stanford University and went all in on the idea. In all this, Larry was only trying to organize the web.
I'm organized.
Because today we search for a topic and we get precise results. But back then it was more about the websites which paid more money, which got to be on the top. It was all totally squandered. But Larry wanted the search results to be something that he was looking for and not advertisements catching up his time. So looking for a solution for this, he got this great idea to rank websites based on the number of backlinks that each website had. So this is how it is.
Then they realized that that list of backlinks could be used for ranking. If you had more backlinks, it showed you were a better page.
If a lot of other websites linked to a web page, that probably meant users thought it was good.
Initially, after raising $1 million from friends and family, Larry launched the search engine from a garage on September 4, 1998 with the name Backrub, which would later be changed to Google, of course. Larry had a shorthand of money, so Larry and Brin looked for some initial investors, and one of whom is a very well-known name,
including $250,000 from Jeff Bezos of Amazon.com.
It was during this time that Larry offered to sell Google for $1 million to a company called Excite, but Excite would not see the potential of Google, so they would turn down the offer. So as the company expanded, Larry was always aware that he would never let go of the controlling share of Google. And why is he so meticulous about that? For that, you'll have to look at the life of Nikola Tesla. You see, when Larry was young, he read a biography of Nikola Tesla, a great inventor whose principles of electricity are even used today. But in reality, Tesla died in debt as he was unable to get his inventions to reach the public eye. And then as the history goes, his inventions were also taken advantage of by his boss, Thomas Alva Edison. And Larry literally cried over the terrible end of Nikola Tesla. So the then 12-year-old Larry decided he would never let the history of Tesla happen again, whether it be him or any inventor for that matter. Soon, Google was all over the place. The user base had widely expanded and it was widely popular. But there was one problem. They were not making any money. See, Larry did not want to compromise on the integrity of search, for it was the very foundation for this huge growth, which led to the greatest revolutionary idea.
Instead of distracting pop-ups or flashing ads, these small ads were placed above and next to search results.
I mean, it now today seems normal, but back then when ads were the only thing that you see in the internet, it was a total game changer. It couldn't get better for Google and its customers. So in 2004, Google went public at a price of $85 a share, which made Larry a billionaire at the age of 31. But wait. Going public meant that the odds of losing control of Google was inevitable. So Larry came up with this share called Class B shares, which meant it would be given only to a very few powerful people who got the controlling power. And apparently Larry and Sergey had enough of it so they can have most of the controlling power. You see, both Larry and Sergey were only in their 20s when Google exploded into this big company. And one of its greatest acquisitions during this time was YouTube in the year 2006.
Today we have some exciting news for you. We've been acquired by Google. Yeah, thanks.
And As I said, they were very young. So down the line, with some reckless decisions made by Larry to fire the managers of Google, who had no engineering background but they were supervising the engineers, which pissed off Larry. So he fired them, which caught the bad eye of the investors. So he was forced to accept a new CEO for the sake of adult supervision, just because they were young. And it was the right move because Eric Schmidt took over Google as a CEO in 2001, and as Sergey says,
idea behind that? I mean, you guys couldn't run it yourself?
Yeah, parental supervision, to be honest.
Yeah. But Schmidt was exactly the guy that Larry was looking for. He wanted no interruption with the innovation part, and then he needed someone to commercialize it. Because under Schmidt, Google expanded into Gmail, Google Maps, Google Chrome, and a lot more. And on top of that, its revenues were through the roof. Now that Eric had taken over, it gave Larry the leeway to focus on things that had the prospect of changing people's lives, which was apparently his purpose. Now, this is where it gets interesting. See, during this time he came across this great company started by an ex-Apple employee, Andy Rubin, called Android, which built an operating system for mobile phones. Larry anticipated the fact that there will always be more mobile phones in the world than computers. So he bought Android for a mere $50 million in 2005. It was just the perfect timing because Apple had just launched the iPhone and they directly became its competitor. Over time, with temperament escalating in Larry's way and in his attitude, Eric thought it was time that he no longer was needed in the company. So later in 2011, Eric Schmidt would step down from the role as CEO with a startling tweet. So Larry would assume the position of CEO, only to give it up a few years later to Sundar Pichai.
Who is becoming Google's new CEO?
And that is Google executive Sundar Pichai.
You see, Google has become more than just a search engine. It has expanded to self-driving cars, robotics, mobile phones, operating systems, browsers, Google Docs, and it goes on. And it has over 10 subsidiaries, so it is only sensible that the company was renamed. That's when Google was changed to Alphabet, proclaiming its versatile nature. Larry, who's 47 now, is doing well in spite of the fact that he went through vocal cord paralysis, and now Larry spends most of his time with his family, because at the end of the day,
Just like me, your families brought you here, and you brought them here. Please keep them close, and remember, they are what really matters in life.
consider leaving a like if you liked the video and subscribe. It really does help out. See you guys in the next one.